her. I'm Mary Liz Curtin, and I was so excited to see this title because it's a presentation I've never given before, and it was pretty much fun. I maintain that if people just did things my way, everything would be better. My husband says I have way too many rules, and I say, I don't have enough. So when I got a chance to set the rules for living an eclectic life, I was totally thrilled. So I thank you so much for that. By the way, I'm Mary Liz Curtin. My husband and I own Leon and Lulu in Clawson. I also write a column for Gifts and Decorative Accessories, which is a trade magazine, the gift and home industry. I have a book called A Shopkeeper's Manual, and I contribute to a blog for the Wall Street Journal called The Experts. And the topic of our blog is small business. And I'm delighted that the journal actually chose to recognize independent retail as an important part of small business, because we are a huge amount. There are a tremendous number of small mom and pop businesses, and we're proud to be one of them. So here's the story about our store. My husband had a retail store. I was a sales manager. We met at the Chicago gift show, and we got married. Little hormones got out of control. Moved to Michigan, and my husband closed his store at the end of 2001. 2002, we didn't have a store at Christmas, and it was wrong. We were baking cookies and going to parties and torturing the kids, and it just wasn't the way we understand Christmas. So the next year, I said, this is the quiet time in my business. I think I'll get a job. So I went to the mall and looked at all the places where I might be able to work. Well, I went to the Collection, of course, because it was Somerset. And I chose Crate and Barrel, because I thought that'd be the most fun place to work. And I had a blast. Well, my husband said he would do it too. He got a job at another store. And the whole time he was there, he kept saying, I can do this better. I can absolutely do this better. So he got this big urge that he and I together would open a full-line furniture store. I got this big urge to save our marriage and figured that opening a full-line furniture store together was totally going to be the end of it. So against my better judgment, he was looking for a couple of months for a building that was large enough that we could have a full furniture store, had proprietary parking, a building we could afford to purchase, and was easily accessible from any place in the metropolitan area, including Grosse Pointe. So he found this fabulous building in Clawson on 14 Mile Road. My mother came to town, and her background is in retail. She took one look at this building and told me she was going to rewrite her will because she was positive our kids were never, ever going to see a college. So this was our building under construction, and we bought the building in 2005, the end of April. My husband and his team of crack employees did all of the remodeling, and he did a fabulous job. He projected a 3-month build-out, did it in only 10. He projected a budget, and he did it in just under 4 times his original budget. Absolutely amazing. And this is what we looked like right before we opened. Our building was the Ambassador roller skating rink. It's only actually been 2 things ever. It opened in 1941 as the rink. We bought the building, and it was still operating. In fact, we ran it to the end of the roller hockey season, and then we opened in 2006. We kept the original floor, we kept all of the skating memorabilia, and we in fact have kids on weekends who skate around and serve hot cookies, because it's a real community center, and everybody who grew up in this area skated at the rink at some point. This was my husband's very, very favorite picture. The first month we were open, he heard this big noise, and he came running back and said, honey, you gotta get a picture. And I said, why? He said, it's so much cooler than the minivans we usually have outside. But these were 4 Harleys driven by Ford Motor Company executives. The cleanest bunch of bikers you have ever, they were engineers, cleanest bunch of bikers you have ever seen. So this is what we look like now. We have been in business 8.5 years. I'm proud to tell you we have been profitable since our 4th month in business. Not very profitable, no executive compensation for a while, but we did turn to the black pretty quickly, and we have been so warmly received by the local community as well as national acceptance. And that's our store now, with a new collection of cars that I chose for the picture rather than the motorcycles. We named our store. We were looking for a name for the store, so we were thinking of all sorts of things. That we wanted something that was kind of interesting and meant something to our family. So we had a dog named Lulu, and we had a cat named Leon. So we named the store after Lulu and Leon, and Lulu was actually our first greeter. Our only problem was the first couple of months it was still pretty quiet in the store, and Lulu would be so happy that somebody came in that she would come running from the back of the store to say hello to the customers. And some people find a charging Rottweiler to be, slightly off-putting. So we taught her to kind of tone it down. And now we have a new dog, Spot, and a baby dog whose picture is not in here. So we always have dogs in the store. And that's one of my rules, is I really think a dog makes a house a home. I can't imagine living without dogs and the sound of toenails on the carpet. And cats are pretty good too. So we love our pets and we love having them in the store. And we've been amazed at how many children come to the store to say hello to the dog and visit. One of my favorite stories, Leon lived a long and happy life. And after he died, this lady came in the store and she came up like a little too close to me. She said, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Why?" She said, "I heard about Leon." I said, "Oh, well, it was very sad, but he was at home when he died, and our whole family was together, and he was in my arms, and it was just, it was awful. It was just terrible, but he was getting older, and he had been sick for a while, so, it was really time," and she's hanging on every word. And I said, "He was almost 19. She got this really weird look. I said, "But we're all there," and then the next day, we buried him in the front yard, and she got this really weird look. And I said, "You are aware that Leon was our cat, right?" She said no, she thought it was my husband. So, but we are planning actually to put him in the median in the front of the store. He's not going to be in the yard. One of the things that we believe in, and I believe in, is color. I love lots and lots of color. I love telling stories with color. A lot of our store is merchandised by color. But every one of our vignettes tells a story. There's a family that lives in there. This is a very artistic family. We put things in that particular group would like. We make up stories about who they are. One of my favorites was, we had all this furniture that didn't really go with anything, so we made up a story about this divorced guy. His wife had taken all the good stuff, so he just had the leftovers. Didn't last very long. But we have a sense of humor throughout the store, so any place you look, it's something that's going to make you smile and something you'll enjoy seeing. That's our monkey room, obviously. We also are selling clothing now, but here's another one of my rules. Everybody looks better by candlelight. Absolutely everybody. You look younger, you look happier, you look rosier. So whenever we eat dinner at home, when we have parties at the store, we're very, very generous with the candles. I just love getting to tell you all my rules. This is our store as it appears today. We're 15,000 square feet. The furniture and accessories are around the outside. The center is the clothing and the gifts and all the silly stuff. And we are open, we're closed on Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Easter, open every other day. And we do a tremendous number of charity events in the store and special events and parties and educational things. Last year we had more than 80 special events in the store. Everything from dog adoptions and blood drives to our big signature events like our breast cancer, Thanks for the Mammaries, which is a fabulous event, and I get to use every bad pun you could possibly think of. That's coming up next month. So it's a very active and exciting place. And I hope you ladies will make a field trip to visit us. We'll make you cookies and open a bottle of wine. And this is what we look like when we have a party. The store, as I mentioned, is a roller skating rink. All of our fixtures are on wheels, so we've kind of carried that theme throughout. We thought we'd move them around, but we never do. Our kids are skating, and we've saved everything we got with the rink, except for the mice. We've got roller skates all over the place. All the rental skates are still there. We have trophies. We have banners from the parades. So it's still very much like it was when it opened in the 40s. So here's another thing. In your home, you are the mistress of your domain. Whatever you say goes, unless your husband thinks he should be allowed to have an opinion, which we know, not so much. But when you're thinking about decorating and you're thinking about how you want your home to look, it's all about you. Whether you think it's fashionable, whether it's currently fashionable or not doesn't matter. When you're putting together your house, when you're putting together your cottage, you do what you want and make it look just the way you want it to look so that when you come home, you're happy and thrilled to be there. And that's one of the things we tell our customers is we're not about putting our stuff in your house, we're about making your house your house. So it's very important that you remember you're in charge. I keep telling my husband that. I mentioned the roller skates. We also still have the original snack bar. So we always serve popcorn and coffee, and we have wine at parties and things going on. And it's really fun to see people come in and see all the things there that used to be there. We still have the scoreboards, we have the skates, and this is fabulous. That's our wall of injuries on the right. Anybody who had a broken arm or stitches or first kiss or some other horrible experience can sign in right there. So it's for injuries and romance only. And we've got some wonderful things like met my husband here in 1952. Married for 57 years. Wonderful, wonderful stories, and it's great to see the history and the people who come back to visit it. So then we think about our customers. I'd love to tell you, and people talk about the demographics. When we opened our store, we had a marketing group who came to tell us that they could tell us where to spend our money because they knew where the big money was and who would be buying our stuff. So they gave us all of these things. They were totally wrong. They were sending us out to the McMansions, where those kids with nothing but a mortgage payment, a car payment, and an Echo live. They don't have any money. They spent all their money on their mortgage and their cars. We found that our customers are the smarter people who have modest, the younger ones have modest homes and they're building them. It's a different demographic entirely than they told us. So we learned we had to get to know our customers personally and really know who they are, not just what they look like on paper or choose them by zip code. I'd love to tell you that that is a metrosexual, who of course is a straight man who's more in touch with his feminine side, picks up his underwear, never leaves his shoes on the floor, but that's my husband. This is another really important demographic in America these days, older Americans. Ladies, we hold the purse strings in this country. Older Americans own 65% of the wealth in this country, and we're having more fun with it than any older generation ever. We are opening businesses, we're going on trips, we're doing things, we're having a great time, and people forget to market to us. Interesting. But this is even more important, the demographic of crabby people. If we get people who come in and they look like this, they're not going to buy anything. So the first thing we have to do is make them happy. And one of the things that we learned is what we sell in our business isn't the furniture, it's not the clothing, it's not the toys and all the other stuff. We sell happiness, we sell style, we sell a lifestyle, is what we're really talking about at Leon and Lulu. Another important demographic for a store like ours is the tween girl. And that's little girls aged 7 to 14. They're learning how to shop, they still like their mothers and they come in shopping with them. They are our retirement plan. Because in another 10, 15 years, she's going to register for her wedding, she's going to be furnishing her house, and she's going to come back where she had so much fun. This is a tween boy, virtually worthless in any situation, for anything, at any time. All you're going to get out of this kid is maybe a Mother's Day gift if somebody, like his dad, drags him in and says, it's tomorrow. But one of the things we discovered is you really have to be careful and have a way for that husband and that boy to stay busy and out of the way when they're in the store, so they're not tapping their feet and dragging the girls out. So we're really careful to have sofas where men can sit, books that they can read, things that they can do to keep them out of the way while we are shopping or drinking wine or just looking around. When we first opened, we met Officer Bill Whitty, and he's a member of Clausen's Finest. He used to come in the store every single day. He'd park his cruiser in our driveway, come in and have cookies, have some coffee, play with the dog, and visit. But he was also our #1 consumer of scented candles. Bill bought more candles than anybody else, and it would amaze women who'd be in there shopping, and here comes Bill in his Kevlar vest and his bump-toed shoes, and go, this one is soy, it burns for 90 hours, this one has all natural ingredients and essential oils, and the women are just going, what the heck? But here's the story. Bill at this time was 57 years old. He had never been married. Bill smoked and he had 2 large smelly dogs. He was hoping to get lucky, and he figured candles were his ticket to a whole new life. So that's how he got to be our #1 candle consumer, and I'm happy to tell you that Bill actually found a girlfriend, moved to Ann Arbor, and we think he's married. I think, personally, it was the candles. There's just no question. But he was a very unusual character to have as our #1 candle customer, and we really learned you need to know who your customers are, really, not just who they look like. The first summer we were open, we had a couple who came in who were, quite frankly, not terribly attractive. And they came in and they started to talk to my husband, and they were chatting. Well, it turns out that they had just inherited a ton of money, and they were buying a new house in West Bloomfield, and they wanted all new stuff for it. They had been to every furniture store in the area, and nobody was nice to them. We got an $11,000 order from them, which is really good stuff even now, but then, let me just tell you, that was a big, big deal. And we got it because we don't profile our customers. We love them for whoever they are. They have to earn our dislike, which a few have, but they were delightful customers, and we bring them up in every presentation. So you're going to make some very unusual friendships. This fellow on the left is my son. When we opened, I think he was 15, and we were talking about somebody we had to fire. And Keegan says, "Why wasn't I informed?" And I said, "Because it's none of your business." He said, "I should know these things." And I said, "Why should you know that we're going to fire her?" "I'm your hair." I'm thinking this is like some cool term I'm not groovy enough to understand. I said, "What are you talking about?" "I'm your hair. All this will be mine someday." So he reads a lot, but not out loud. So anyway, and I do have permission to use that story. About 6 months later, he sent me an email trying to con me into something, and at the bottom it said, no portions of this may be used in any seminars, columns, conversations, or chats with your friends without the express permission of your son, the hare. So anyway, the hare and the cop have become friends, and they're a very unlikely duo, but we've made a lot of unusual friends in this business, and it's really been one of the great joys of having the store are the people who come to see us just for a lift, because it's a happy and fun place to be. However, whatever you're doing, nothing is more important than presentation. Now, if you look at this man's business plan, it probably looks pretty good. He's got low overhead, he's got no utility costs, he's got great walk-by traffic, he's got a small dedicated product selection with fabulous pricing, he's got easy parking, but he just doesn't put you in the mood for love. So it's really important as you put together any kind of a presentation to remember the way you present it is key to your success. This is my fit. Can you see the romance books sign down there in the left corner? No. Oh, it's too bright in here. His sign says in giant black letters, romance books. Wonder if they'd turn some things off. So one of the things that we really believe in is saying yes to everybody about everything ever. If there's a way we can do it for our customers, we want to, and that's one of the reasons we've been so popular is we always try to fix it and we try to make everybody happy, and you'll never see a sign like this at our store. Because one of my questions about this is, we do not make change for meters for customers. How am I supposed to know if I'm a customer if I can't get in the store because I can't leave my car? It's a logic problem. We are always looking for improvement. We go to a tremendous number of trade shows. We travel more than any independent retailer I know. Twice a year we go to High Point for furniture. We go to Las Vegas to the World Market Center a couple times a year. We hit the New York Gift Show. We go to Birmingham, England. We went last year or the year before, and that was really fun. To Italy, to Machev. And we get a few things in Europe, but it's generally the dollar isn't strong enough, but we get a lot of ideas and a lot of creativity, and it helps us keep our store fresh and interesting. Even if the things that we end up buying aren't sourced from there, it gives us a cosmopolitan feel that we wouldn't have without that kind of an outreach. Maison et Objet is one of the prettiest shows ever, happens to be in Paris. We get there every couple years. And a couple years ago I went to Egypt with my son, just a year before the big uprising, and that was fascinating. And I was so happy I took my young son to Egypt and not my daughter with the curly hair and the not quite enough clothing on. So one of my other rules is never ever miss a chance to travel with your kids or your grandkids or any members of your family, because we've had better times together when it's just one child and one parent than we ever do anyplace else. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I treasure the times I've had with my kids. They're so much better behaved out of our zip code. I don't know how it is, but... So there's my son in Egypt when he was 14. I loved this, Laundry New York. I don't know what it means, but it was part of our Egyptian tour. And there he was with our guide and meeting a bunch of children in orphanages. And it's been a great way for us to share with our kids that everybody doesn't exactly have the benefits of growing up in suburban Detroit. Another thing that I really believe in is don't forget your lipstick. I think that we should always try to look as nice as we possibly can when we leave. Not because you're trying to impress somebody, because you feel better. My mother's 93 years old, and she's living in assisted living now. She is always dressed beautifully. The doctor tells me that he can tell if she's not feeling good, because if she starts to look crummy, it's a clear indication. And the other doctors and nurses have told me that the people who live in that place, who take pains with their appearance and work hard on their presentation, feel better about themselves than the others who are in sweatpants and look like slobs. So it's really kind of interesting that that thing that some people say is vanity isn't really. It's just part of your whole presentation. It makes you feel good. So don't forget your lipstick is one of my rules. I quit counting my rules, by the way, when I was making them up. We went to the Lima Gift Show. This is my daughter at Machu Picchu, which was kind of amazing, absolutely astounding. And there she is. My favorite thing about Machu Picchu is this is the signage. It's carved into rocks and it's just down low, telling you which way to go, very, very subtle, not like a giant sign in the middle of it. It's almost like it just happened. Absolutely wonderful signage. And this is the prettiest sunrise I ever saw, which was in Cusco, Argentina, or Cusco, Peru. And I woke my daughter up and said, "Honey, look at this, isn't it fabulous?" And she said, "Yeah, Mom." And that was that. She went right back to sleep. So say yes to adventure. That's my daughter. If there's something you can do that's different and unusual and a whole new thing, say yes to it because it's fabulous. My daughter was in New Zealand this year for a semester, and so of course her mother, she wouldn't be happy if her mother didn't visit. We went to Australia, to Sydney, met there for our birthdays, and she booked a tour that involved climbing to the top of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. This is not something I would have chosen, because for one thing you had to wear an ugly suit, get chained to the bridge and go all the way to the top. It was fabulous. So the next couple days later, we got to New Zealand, and she said, "Mom, would you like to see the glowworms?" Well, of course I would. And she showed me a brochure of these people in a boat, in a river, in a cave, and I'm thinking, isn't that fabulous? And in my head, I could hear the Mills Brothers singing. I was so excited. She booked us on a tour that involved another ugly outfit, plastic boots that belonged to somebody else, a hard hat with a light, and rappelling down a 100-meter rope so that, thank you, exactly, so we could climb through the rocks to see the glowworms and then climb out. Well, I, of course, was convinced I was going to break a hip and that my screams of agony were going to be echoing through the caves. But I feel I'm so proud of myself for having lived through it, kept my sense of humor for easily 60% of the trip. It was fabulous. But those adventures that my kids have scheduled for us have been phenomenal. And if you say yes to an adventure, you'll take you lots of new places. Unless you're talking to my mother, who loved to refer to an adventure in good eating, which generally meant she was serving liver. This is one of our adventures in India. We were buying scarves. We go into these factories in the slums in India, and they show us exactly what we're getting. This is the father of these boys, who's very, very proud of himself. And you go through piles and piles and piles of stuff to choose the exact ones you want, and they put your labels on them and send them. But this is pretty interesting. We had trouble finding the place. That was their street sign. That little piece of, it's right here, Sunbeam Shawls. So we went there with our guide, and we had to park the little car behind a fence so it wouldn't get stolen. And as we left, our guide said, our agent said, "Well, I'm glad that all went all right." And we said, "Why?" "Well, there's a lot of terrorists there, and they don't really like Christians." I said, "Oh, do you think they could tell we're Christians?" He said, "Yeah, I don't think you're going to pass for a Muslim." So anyway, it never occurred to us that we were going to some place that wouldn't be particularly safe for two blue-eyed white people. But we brought you back the scarves that you need. And it was a wonderful adventure. So here's another thing. If you've got stuff in your closet, or if you've got stuff in your closet, if you've got stuff in your house and you don't love it, get rid of it. This is the best garage sale sign I've ever seen in my whole life. If you don't like it, you shouldn't have it. If you don't need it, get rid of it. Make your house full of things that you enjoy having, you enjoy touching, you enjoy wearing. Because otherwise you just look, and even if it belonged to your great-grandmother and you don't like it, you could let it go because somebody else wants it. It can make a whole difference. So this is some of the places. Do you think we can get this light turned off here? I don't know how to do that. Anyway, this is one of the places we shop for antiques in India. It's a warehouse full of stuff just stacked up, looking kind of fabulous, and we dig through it and find things that are one-of-a-kinds and unique. It's okay. So here's my other rule. After you've gotten rid of the junk, keep collecting the stuff you love. If there's something that really will make your life happier and it's something you adore, there's no reason to stop. I talk to people all the time who say, "Well, I don't know, maybe I have too much stuff." And I don't think that that's possible. But wait till you see my house. It's totally not possible there. So if there's something you love and something you enjoy, you should have it and you should have a good time with it. In fact, there is my house. We live in a 1921 house in Royal Oak, and it is full of stuff that I like and a few things of my husband's. And we keep it as well organized as we can. But one of the things that I've learned is if you have a lot of stuff, you need to control it somehow. So if you have collections, merchandise them together, show them all together on shelves so that it's not dragged all over the place. All the circus things are in one place and all the milkmaids are someplace else, so you can tell a story. You can also, if you have a lot of things, you don't have to show it all at once. You can put some things away, bring them back out, and it's fun because it gives you an excuse to dust them, of course. But it makes your house changing and different all the time, and you won't feel overwhelmed by stuff. This is more of my house. This is my husband's little TV room. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This kid has all the answers. My husband's little TV room, and we put snakes on the valance. My mother said she would never go back in there because of the snakes. She lives in Santa Barbara where snakes are a bigger issue. This is our kitchen, which has the original doors that came with the place. And we put chalkboard on our refrigerator so that there can be no magnets on it at all, which made me so happy because I got tired of those. But our house is full of the things that both of us love. It's full of our kids' stuff, and it makes us happy to come home to our own little collection of stuff. Okay, it's a big collection. At Lee Honolulu, we live in the land of yes. We try to say yes to our customers all the time for anything that they want. And it is so much easier to try to do it the nice way and make people happy than it is to set a lot of rules and make it difficult for people to shop with us. And I decided that we're doing more of that with our kids. We're saying yes to almost anything, except the basement full of beer bottles, of which my son is very, very proud. But living in the land of yes is a great attitude adjuster. It helps you just think of being happier and having more fun, and it's a whole new world. This is some more of the places that we shop in India. We go there a couple times a year because there are so many fabulous pieces of furniture and decorative accessories, and we dig through all of these places. Some of these are the land of no. And it's really the most interesting when we go to some of the textile factories and meet the ladies who do the sewing, who are well paid, they're happy to have jobs, they're delighted to work out of the home. And we also carry a lot of things that are made by Muslim women who can't leave the home, things that they do, piecework that they do at home because they need the money. And it's great to see them enjoying their independence and learning how to support their families without totally depending on their husbands. It's made a big, big difference for so many of these women. So it's great when you're able to buy things from people, meet the people you're buying it from, shake their hands, bring it home, and deliver it to our friends here. And this is our favorite place to shop because it's the prettiest with all these beautiful big jars. And this wonderful office with the print blocks behind the guy that we buy the stuff from. And this year we brought in 2 containers from India, all sorts of cool stuff, if you like dust and dirt. This is another place where we're choosing things in Jaipur, and we'll go back again in February, I think, to bring in more things. It just goes on and on and on. So here's another thing, glamour. Let's remember that glamour is good. This was the opening of the Santa Fe Folk Art Festival, which happens once a year and brings artisans in from all over the world. It's a fabulous juried art show. My daughter and I were there. This is one of the directors of it. And it was a glittering and glamorous night. So I want to just state one of my rules is dress up, put on the good stuff, wear the jewels, wear the long gown, have a fabulous time, because we don't do that enough anymore. And it's fun and it's exciting. I also believe really strongly in using the good stuff. We use sterling every night for dinner. What are we saving it for? We put it in the dishwasher, it comes out just fine. We use the good china, we use the good glasses, and we have as long as we've had, well, we always have. So our kids have grown up learning how to use the nice things, and it's just pretty. But I go to estate sales and I see places where obviously somebody's grandma's dishes are sitting there for sale. The kids have no memories of them. They've never enjoyed them at Thanksgiving or every day. So use it now and have a good time with it. This was really fun. This is Nina of Palm Desert. And I found her at a flea market in Palm Springs, and she's a jeweler. And she's just glamorous and wonderful, and I couldn't believe that she had this good-looking booth in the middle of a flea market at College of the Desert in Palm Springs. Fabulous jewelry. So art. The art in your home should make you happy. Whatever it is, whether it's folk art or tramp art or oils or impressionist art, you should walk in and look at that picture and say, I love that, it's making me happy, every time you see it. It does not matter if it matches your sofa, it doesn't matter if it doesn't fit over your sofa, it doesn't matter anything except that it gives you joy. So embrace that and be sure you're living with those things that make you pleased to see them and give you joy every time you are there. I love these pictures on a wall at the High Point Market. And this is another, I guess I have a lot of pictures tonight for you of awful places that we shop. This is an auction that we go to once a year, which is a big fight for stuff in Kentucky from one of our importers. I also believe that the world needs more parties. We need more people who make a fuss. People who go to the effort of setting a pretty table and cooking a dinner and inviting their friends to come in, or even people who set a pretty table, defrost a lasagna from Stouffer's and invite their friends to come in. Because we live in a nation where we're getting farther and farther apart and spending more time on our cell phones. So I believe in parties. I believe in making people feel that you have fussed and been making your friends know that you will fuss over them and make a big deal out of having them as friends. So at Lee Honolulu, we believe in parties. We had more than 80 special events last year. That's Paul, our handsome bartender. And we've got more events coming up. So sometime come to one of our parties because they're really fun. You don't have to bring a dish. It's perfect. We also believe in doing something nice for somebody, which comes back 1,000-fold. We do 2 blood drives a year in the store. We have a pet adoption coming up this Sunday. We've got a lot of things going on. And the little bit that we can do makes such a big difference to other people. So any volunteering, any outreach that you do to somebody who needs it, whether it's just a smile. I had a lady who came in. We have beautiful little soft hats we give to anybody we know who's suffering through cancer. And this woman came in and she said, I just want you to know, I think there's fertilizer in that hat. Look at my hair. And she told me how much it meant that somebody cared enough to give her, because they're very soft and nice if you happen to have lost all your hair. So anyway, our hats with fertilizer in them are our gifts for people with cancer. All those little tiny things that aren't a big deal to you make such a difference to a stranger. We believe in generosity, in giving away as much as we can, supporting anything that we can anytime. And this was the best t-shirt that we ever did. It's our breast cancer t-shirt. Some words are just unacceptable, and I don't know if you can read those words, but they're all synonyms for breast. Cans, Hooters, Knockers, Ben & Jerry. It goes on and on and on. Well, we sold them last year, a couple years ago, at our Thanks for the Mammaries party, and it was terrific because the breast cancer people were so happy to buy something that was not pink. They were thrilled to have a little brown in the wardrobe. The boys who work for us were totally excited that they could wear something with all of the tit jokes on them, so they had them. My son said they were all over Wayne State University, but they made people laugh, but they pointed out that the only unacceptable word there is cancer. And cancer is the one word that's crossed off. We're just in the process of reprinting those for our next event. But they were so much fun, they were so silly, we had a good time with those. So we also love to foster creativity and to help artists and to help the artistic community. We do books and authors once a year, which is a chance for local authors, Michigan authors, people who write about Michigan, or actually anybody who could spell Michigan, can come to the store. We'll have about 50 authors on Sunday, I think it's October 23rd, signing their books and selling the books, and it's a really fun day. 4 times a year, we do an artist market, which is a juried art show right in the store that shows people, allows people to meet the people who are making the product, and for the artists to meet their public. And it's really great because we've seen some of those people go on to real wholesale careers. We carry some of the product all year long, and it's a really fun thing. The next one's right after Thanksgiving. And then 12 times a year we do Girls' Night Out, which is on a Tuesday night, and it's basically a chance to come and drink wine. Kind of perfect. And sometimes there's a presentation, or sometimes there's a trunk show or something going on, but basically it's just a chance to hang out with the girls for a couple of hours. But we love characters at our store. We love having fun. We had Chewbacca wandering through the store. We have a video on our website, which David actually worked on, of Santa Claus, who actually does a lot of shopping at our store every year because he has to, do all those stockings. And we embrace that. We absolutely love the nutcases who come in. We love the people who come in who are a little bit wacky. We have, the first year we were in business, we had 2 women who had just been widowed, one of whom used to walk with her husband to watch the progress on our building. And those ladies would just come in where they were feeling kind of blue because they could have a cup of coffee, they could play with the dog, and we watched them progress through the year. One lady, we could tell when she was really having a bad day because her hair wouldn't be combed and she was a mess. And they're both now feeling much better. It's been a long time. But we realized that we could have an impact on our community, large and small, just by being a happy place. And that's been a big part of our whole thing. Another thing I believe in is using everything you've got. If you have an asset, if you have something that you can share, you should use it. That's a picture of my mother. My mother was a staff sergeant in the Marines. She was stationed at Parris Island in WW2. She won it, in fact. She actually threw up at General Eisenhower's feet once, just by the way. So I have this picture of my mother who still fit in her Marine Corps uniform. We had that, and we had a story, we looked for it, we built it, we refined it, and we changed that into Meet My Mother the Marine. And this was in 2008. And it was an event that helped raise money to send World War II veterans to the memorial in Washington, D.C. And it was fabulous. The day was amazing. We asked everybody to wear a uniform or red, white, and blue. We had little Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts listening to the old people telling their stories, which was fabulous. And we gave a prize to anybody who came in a uniform or any part of a uniform. And we gave a better prize to anybody who could button his uniform. My mother was actually the only one who could button her uniform, although she did say she couldn't breathe. And it was a fabulous day. We had all sorts of people. We had people from Vietnam. We had people from World War II. We had men from Korea. They were so happy to have their service acknowledged. It was a lovely afternoon. We made enough money to send 3 veterans to see the to see the memorial. And we taped their stories. We had a whole collection of stories taped from some of the people who are not with us now. And that's all because we had a picture of my mother in her uniform and she still had the uniform. So we love to find something like that we can have some fun with and play with and turn into something different. So this is the picture of our store, the Ambassador Roller Rink in 1941, the year it was built. You've seen what that looks like now. And left next to it was the Clausen Theater, which was an operating movie house, just a dumb little neighborhood movie house, from 1941 till 1962, and now we're remodeling that building. We are adding a marquee again. This is what it looks like now. Isn't it handsome? And that's what it looked like then, and we'll have the marquee again, we'll have a ticket taker, and we're adding more retail as well as a little coffee shop. So we're pretty excited to be able to say that not only it's independent retail possible for success, independent retail, not just in Detroit, but in this weird little suburb of Detroit that no one's even heard of, has a possibility of success, and it's all due to people like you. And we thank you very much. So we've had a great time building this business, and we're having a wonderful time running it, and we're really, really thrilled to be here. So my final thing is I'd like to quote Marshall Field, and this is our attitude: give the lady what she wants. If in anything, if you can figure out what the lady wants and give it to her, you will be a success. And that's maybe the best rule of all. I thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I thank you for letting David come. Now, are there questions I can answer or anything else I can tell you? Or do you want me to make up more rules? I'll be happy to. Yes, ma'am.